this morning, and welcome to the five toughest schedules in the Big Ten edition of the OHIO podcast. Do us a big favor, everybody, smash that like button. Just do it right now. Just don't hesitate. Boom, hit it. Go now. Do it now. And if you haven't already, please consider subscribing to the channel. It absolutely does help us. Ring the bell, get notified every time we go live. You're not going to want to miss a live show. They're fantastic. Everybody loves them. And that's a consensus across the board. 100%. No one's ever not liked it unless they root for the team up north. And, anyways, if you haven't already, please consider making a comment down in the comment section below. Let's get this video out to as many people as we possibly can because we're talking about a lot of the Big Ten that they aren't going to like what we have to say, but it's true. It's true. We speak truth here. Absolutely. Don't forget, we're less than 48 hours away from our big spring game fan appreciation tailgate. We'll be, as you can see, right there. We're going to be just south of the French Fieldhouse over by the bike path north of the Horseshoe. So come and check out the tailgate with us. We're going to have some former Buckeyes with us. There's going to be some prizes. There's going to be great food. You get to meet Chris, myself, a bunch of other Lunatic Fringe fans. Much like yourself, you're going to love it. Don't miss it. Please consider bringing a children's book, slightly used or brand new, for a donation with Second and Seven. We're partnering with them for this tailgate. And if you can't get to a bookstore, order one off Amazon, or don't have one you can steal from your kids who wouldn't mind, please consider bringing a financial donation as well so that we can continue to keep this worthwhile ministry running, up and running here in Central Ohio and beyond, all throughout the Midwest, really, thanks to Ryan Miller, Luke Fickle, and Mike Vrabel, who started Second and Seven. And we're tickled pink to be partnering with them for this tailgate. All right, let's dive right into the top five toughest schedules in the Big Ten in 2025. Now, note we had a tie for fifth. These are not unanimous, but we took everybody's rankings and we came up with a consensus. And these are the top five, and we had a tie for number five. So that's how we are going to have two number fives. Let's start here by talking about UCLA's schedule, shall we? All right, so UCLA opens the season against Utah. That is one of the Big 12's best teams, former Pac 12 member, opponent to UCLA. Utah is a very, very good football team. Not going to be easy, even though they're opening it at home. They're at UNLV. I will never understand why and how Big Ten schools think it's okay to drop down a level and go on the road. I'll just never understand that. You're asking for an upset loss. Then they take on New Mexico before they get a bye. They're at Northwestern. They're going to be playing on the lake at Northwestern. Depending on how those first three games go, that should probably be a win. Then they come home against Penn State. Now, this is obviously a tough game, but you do get them at home. Then they got to come all the way back out here to the Midwest again. They're going to take on Michigan State, and then they come home against Maryland. Now things get a little bit tougher for them. They go back out to the Midwest again, on the road again. So this will be the third flight in 5 weeks out here to the Midwest as they come to Bloomington, Indiana to take on Indiana before they get their second bye week. Come home to take on the pesky Cornhuskers, a team that is obviously improving. Then they come out here to Columbus, Ohio to get a big loss before coming home to take on Washington and then playing against USC across town. I look at this schedule, I see at least 4 automatic L's, and I see some coin flips where they're probably not going to be favored. Washington, Nebraska, Indiana, to name a few. So UNLV is going to be, they're probably not going to have, I'm guessing they're going to be somewhere around 4.5, 5 on their win totals coming into the season. I would say if they're at a 5 or more, I'm probably going to take the under on these guys. Tough schedule. Now, tied with them at fifth best or fifth hardest, I guess you could say. Let's talk about Northwestern. We just talked about them a second ago. Let's talk about them right now. They start, again, I just got done saying this with UCLA. Here they are. They start on the road at Tulane to start the season, dropping down a level, going up against a team that has been competing to try to knock the door down in the college football playoff in Tulane, and they're going to play them in their home stadium. Not smart. That's probably going to be a loss for Northwestern. Just no joke. It's going to be a tough game for them. Then they get come home to take on Western Illinois and Oregon. So Oregon, that's L. Then they get their bye week. They host UCLA. Again, we just got done talking about that for UCLA. Somewhere around a coin flip game for them. Not a gimme. Then they host Louisiana Monroe. They should win that one. And then they play at Penn State, host Purdue, at Nebraska. The Purdue game probably going to be favored in. At Penn State, at Nebraska, both losses. Then they get their second bye. At USC, that's probably an L. Home against Michigan, that's probably an L. Home against Minnesota, although and those two games are at Wrigley Field, mind you. I think that's probably an L, although Minnesota more on their level. And then at Illinois, who I think is one of the surprise teams in the Big Ten in 2025, that's more likely an L. You're looking at one, two, three, four, five guaranteed losses there, a couple coin flips. Northwestern, again, 3.5, four on the win total, maybe going into the season. If they have anywhere over five or more, hammer the under. I don't think Northwestern's going to have a very good season. All right, moving to the top four now. Those two teams were tied at number five. Let's look at number four. Let's talk about the Iowa Hawkeyes. Iowa starts their season at home against the Great Danes of University of Albany. That should be a win. Then they go upstate to Ames, Iowa to take on the Cyclones. That's throw the record books out that game. It's always a close game. Should be another good one. Host UMass. That should be a win. There's a part of me that thinks Iowa can go 3-0 to start the season there. At Rutgers, that should be a win. Indiana at home. This is going to be really interesting because I think Indiana is the type of team that returns a little bit from the meme. I don't think they have the same type of season they had last year. I'll be shocked if they do. Iowa is probably a better team, better roster. They should get that win. So Iowa might be staring 5-0 off to start the season, but then look how this schedule turns on them quickly. They get their first bye week, and then they're at Minnesota and Camp Randall, host Penn State, host Minnesota. Again, can they win those games? Sure. Penn State going to be a tough one, guys. Going to be a tough one. Even though it's at home, it's Kinnick is a tough place to play. If they get it at night, should be a great game. Second bye, and then they host Oregon. Again, they get them at home at USC. That's going to be a tough one. Host Michigan State at Nebraska to finish the year. That's the rivalry game, as we like to say, children in the corn rivalry. At Nebraska. Nebraska's going to be hungry for this one. So I look at the schedule and I think Iowa has a chance to do pretty well in it. They get their two toughest games, Penn State and Oregon. They get them at home, okay, but they're on the road at USC. They're at Nebraska. They're at Wisconsin. They get Indiana at home. Indiana coming off a good season, but they're also at Ames, Iowa against Iowa. Is this a manageable schedule for Iowa? Yeah, they're going to need some good luck, but if Iowa does what Iowa typically does and they're kind of up and down, there's quite a few L's on this and they're not going to make the college football playoff. So, I don't foresee that happening this year for Iowa. Sorry. Um, the elimination of divisions in the Big 10 has really affected Iowa because I just don't see them making a Big 10 championship game again. I just don't. Sorry, guys. All right, let's look at, before we go to the top three, let's take a look at today's scripture verse, shall we? 2 Timothy 2:11. It is a faithful saying, for if we be dead with him, talking about Christ, we shall also live with him. In other words, if we die out to our sin, if we submit our lives and our sinful lives to Christ, he nails them to the cross, he buries them with him, and he's resurrected on that third and appointed morning. We shall live with him. We are resurrected as new people with Christ. So thankful for the cross of Calvary and what it has done for me in my life. All right, moving on to our top three Toughest schedules in the Big Ten in 2025, according to our consensus rankings. Number 3, let's talk about Rutgers. They start the season off at home against a pair of MAC schools from Ohio, the Bobcats and the Red Hawks. Should they win those games? Absolutely. Will they? I don't know. Both those teams, Miami and Ohio, are pretty good MAC schools. They'll give you a run for your money. This is going to be an interesting start to the season for Rutgers. And then they play Norfolk State. Should Rutgers go 3-0 with this non-con? Absolutely. Then they host Iowa, and then they go out to Minneapolis to take on the Golden Gophers. 3-2, 4-1, 2-3. I can see any of those scenarios from going 2-3 to 4-1. Do I see them going 5-0? I don't. I could also see them going, like I said, 1-4, 2-3 to start the season. So be very interesting how Rutgers starts the year. Then they get their first bye. And then look at this next set of games. At Washington, that's tough. Hosting Oregon, at Purdue, they should probably win that one. At Illinois. So they go back to back to trips here to the Midwest. At Illinois, tough one. Hosting Maryland. Should they win 3 of those games? Two. I think they should probably be favored in 2 of them. Maryland could be considered a coin flip. Probably going to beat Purdue, but it's at Purdue in Ross-Ade Stadium. Buckeye fans know when you go to Ross-Ade, especially if it's a night game, different environment. Illinois, Oregon, Washington mixed in with that. That's tough for Rutgers. Then they get their second bye, and then they're at Ohio Stadium. You come to Columbus, take on the Buckeyes in the shoe, and then they finish with Penn State. You want to talk about a rough finish. At Ohio State, hosting Penn State, just chalk them up for L's. If they don't get 6 wins by the time they play Maryland, they're not going bowling, I'll tell you that much. Rutgers with the third toughest schedule in the Big Ten. All right, moving along to number 2. And sorry about our friends over at the Boiler Express podcast, but Purdue does not have it easy. They are the second toughest schedule. Um, we were joking Sunday night. If they don't go 2-0, they might not get to that second win this year. They host in-state rival, not really a rival, but in-state MAC school, Ball State, to start the season. Then they take on Southern Illinois. They need to win those 2 football games. If they win just those 2 football games, they will have won more games in 2025 than they did in 2024. Let that sink in. Then look at this gauntlet of games. USC at Notre Dame, first bye. Illinois at Minnesota, at Northwestern. What makes that Northwestern game so difficult is it's the second roadie in a row that they're on. If this was Illinois at Northwestern at Minnesota, I would probably say they can go in to Chicago or Evanston and take down the Wildcats, but I'm not so sure. Hosting Rutgers at Michigan, Ohio State, at Washington. My gosh, Michigan and Ohio State back to back, and then you got to go out to the West Coast into Seattle and play one of the toughest environments in all of the Big Ten now. Second bye week, at least they get a bye week before they host rival Indiana. Can Purdue get to 3 wins? I went on record saying if Purdue starts the season 2-0, somewhere in this mix, whether it's at Minnesota, at Northwestern, against Indiana, against Rutgers, they will trip their way into another win and get to 3 wins on the season. That's my prediction. We'll see how it goes for Purdue. I'm rooting for my buddies over at the Boiler Express podcast. Other than on November 8th. November 8th, we're not rooting for you guys. Sorry. All right. Now, our toughest schedule in the Big Ten in 2025. And it's not even close. Not even close. Yep, we're talking about Wisconsin. The Badgers. Luke Fickell, buddy, my goodness. Hosting Miami to start the season. Better get a win there. Middle Tennessee State, not a gimme. Pretty good football team, but you should win that one as well. And then get ready. Here we go. At Alabama, they go to Bryant-Denny Stadium down in Tuscaloosa, Alabama to take their first L of the season. Hosting Maryland, need a bounce back win there. Get a bye. At the Big Outhouse, probably going to lose that one. Hosting Iowa, you got a home field advantage. You need to take advantage of that one against Iowa. Hosting Ohio State, at Oregon. Look at that middle section. At Michigan, Iowa, Ohio State, at Oregon. That might be the four toughest consecutive games on anybody's schedule in all of college football. Congratulations on the extension, Luke Fickell. Here's your reward. If somehow Wisconsin beats Iowa and they come away from that 1-3, or as my co-hosts believe, they can go into the big house and upset Michigan and somehow go 2-4, or excuse me, 2-2 in those four games, then heck of a job to Luke Fickell and the Badgers. Second bye week to start the month of November, and then here's how they finish out their schedule. They host Washington, they're at Indiana, host Illinois, at Minnesota. Again, can they win two of those games? Can somehow Wisconsin get to 6 wins on the season? We had one viewer who said he believes Wisconsin actually can go 8-4. If Wisconsin goes 8-4 with this schedule, mark it down. Luke Fickell needs to be the Big Ten Coach of the Year. No joke. 8-4 on that schedule with the team he's currently got would be an astronomical, impressive coaching job by Fick. There, I just don't see it. I don't see it. I see one, two, three, four, five guaranteed losses, a couple coin flips in Washington, Indiana, Minnesota, Iowa, Maryland, and those could go either way. So I don't know, guys. I see two guaranteed wins, five guaranteed losses, five coin flips. Can he somehow get to 7-5? Can he win all the coin flips? If he wins all those coin flip games, those five coin flip games, Maryland, Iowa, Washington, Indiana, Minnesota. He wins all of those with the Miami and Middle Tennessee State Tennessee game and goes 7-5. Luke Fickell, fantastic job, buddy. That is rough. That is a absolute gauntlet of a schedule right there, man. So I don't know. You guys let me know what you think. Who has the toughest schedule in the Big Ten? I think it's Wisconsin. Who's the second toughest? Can you be persuaded that it's not Purdue? Maybe it's Rutgers. Maybe it's Iowa. Is it UCLA? Possibly. Some other schools that received votes were USC. They got a vote. Ohio State got a couple votes for a tough schedule, but neither one of those two teams were actually in the top five for the toughest schedules in the Big Ten. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Have a great Thursday, everybody. Don't forget, tonight, 8 o'clock Eastern, is our call-in show. This should be a good time. This will be our last call-in show before the spring game. So make sure you mark your calendars. Ring that bell. Like I said, get notified. Don't miss tonight's 8 o'clock call-in show here in the OHIO podcast. Have a great day, everybody. Be kind to one another. I owe someone's OH. Sing Carmen High with all your heart. You all know what to do. Go Bucks.